to a hockey-themed, love me some NHL edition of 5 Minutes at the Frat House. Not with Frat House Mike and Sidekick. And listen, we're going to get into all the latest from the NHL in just a few moments. But goodness, Sidekick, we've got such a crammed, packed program here tonight. We got we got college football, we got NFL playoffs, and even a special guest. We got a special guest coming.
Yep. Tweeting models?
Tweeting models? Yeah, exactly. We got models on the... listen, we don't want to waste a single minute, and we need to get right into it right away. And so what we're going to do is we're going to start it off with the biggest college football game of the entire season that was played on Monday evening between number 1 Notre Dame and number 2 Alabama. And in the end, it wasn't even a game. Yeah, it wasn't even a game. In fact, it was 28-0 in favor of the Crimson Tide by halftime as they roll-tided their way over the Irish 42-14. Alabama's junior QB, A.J. McCarron, he was quite good, actually, and very effective, going 20 of 28 for 264 yards, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. But I got to tell you, Sidekick, you called it last week when you said that if Notre Dame were able to hold Bama's 2 big running backs to under 100 yards, that maybe, just maybe. But no, that didn't happen. You predicted it. As it turned out, Bama running back Eddie Lacy had 140 yards, while T.J. Yeldon got another 108. And what happened to the acclaimed Irish defense? Let's get straight. They were just simply overmatched, including heralded Heisman candidate Manti Te'o, who, as the game went on, I'm going to tell you, I was sitting back there watching the game, and I could just hear his stock tumbling in the NFL for draft day. Yep. And so for the second time in a row, and the third time in 4 seasons, Nick Saban secures himself a national championship for Alabama, and now starts to position himself. I mean, because there's a very real possibility. Make no mistake, he could do it again next year. And at that point right then, he's now positioning himself up there with somebody like Bear Bryant. Can you imagine?
Yep, all the word I heard, Monday and this week after the win is dynasty.
Yeah, 3 and 4, we would call it that in baseball.
Yep.
You'd have to say that for college football. So from all of us here, and this is a little deja vu all over again. I kind of almost just ought to pull last year's tape. Congratulations to the Alabama Crimson Tide on this year's BCS Championship.
Well, I'm psychic,
Well, I don't know. Except unless I call it for next year, which I think is a possibility. So in that case, maybe I am. Hey, let's go take a look at the BCS Championship. Kind of leads us into our Frat House Facebook post of the week. We're going to take a look at that right now. And it was the most viewed and commented post this week, and well, why shouldn't it be? Was the pick and the post that I put up. Actually, it was during the second quarter of Monday evening's BCS Championship game. And the picture I put up was of Alabama's junior quarterback, A.J. McCarron's girlfriend. As we everyone in the audience found all about, thanks to Brent Musburger and his wandering eye, Catherine Webb. And holy smokes, Sidekick, this post is probably one of the most viewed posts, that we have ever had up on the Frat House page. It's not the biggest, but it's got to be close. It's got to be in the top 3, probably.
I wonder why.
Yeah, I really wonder. So keep those posts coming, all right, folks? Keep them coming. And, every once in a while, we'll surprise you with one like that. Not too often, but every once in a while when they come up.
Wings in a strip club, buddy.
But that's what they said. Or at least that's what was offered. All right. Let's get into our hockey flavor for this particular show. Yes, we do have NHL news. After months of squabbling and bickering, it was announced last weekend that, in fact, we finally do have an agreement between the NHL and NHLPA, and we're going to have an NHL hockey season. The season obviously has been shortened, as was the NBA season last year. It's been shortened from a normal 82-game schedule to 48. And in fact, I believe that the NBA came in last year with a 46 game. So this is actually 2 games more, I believe, than the NBA had. And yet they're going to try to play it in a shorter period of time. Now, I don't know how that's going to go, but I guess we just have to wait and see what the schedules are. Training camps are scheduled to open this Saturday, and the first official games of the season are scheduled to hit the ice 1 week later on Saturday, January 19th. So I got to ask you, Sidekick, you've made the comment here before, as we've talked about this numerous times over the past number of months, that you would have preferred that they had just canceled the entire season. Mm-hmm. But now it hasn't. It hasn't been canceled. I guess my first question would be, and I got a series of them, will you be watching? Will you be rooting for your Blues? And let's get straight. The Blues had a pretty good season last year. They,
yep.
So, I mean, there's something to be rooting for there if they come back with basically the same team. And how would you feel if your Blues won the Stanley Cup this year?
No, I won't be watching. No, I won't be rooting. And I don't care if they win.
Okay.
That's...
There you have it.
Answer your question.
Well, your head ain't made of straw, you know.
There you go. I mean,
So,
I guess that's the...
Now, having said that, though...
Yes.
Now it's my turn
Go
for the
ahead.
veins to come out, my face to get red, and for me to have my rant.
You seem upset.
Just a little bit. All right. So the lockout's over now. Now it's time for the fans to lock out the NHL. Everybody was doing all their whining, complaining, moaning. Oh, we're not coming back. We're not coming back. It's going to be years before anybody comes back to the game. Well, folks, now we've got a season, and now everybody's back on the bandwagon. So I want everybody to stop a minute and remember what they were saying a few weeks ago about not ever coming back and all that stuff. And don't come back. Don't watch the games. Don't go to the games. Don't buy their apparel. Don't support the league until next year. Let this year be gone. Hit them with the viewership ratings going down because people aren't going to watch. Don't buy their merchandise and let them have their slump rest of the year. And then next season, come back full force as an NHL fan if you want to.
Okay.
But don't buy into this. There's a season now. We're hockey fans.
Should I take my jersey off?
Yeah, because we said at pre-show, I said, "Oh, look, the sellouts here." Mister, I'm burning flyer badges and all the patches and all that good stuff. And the 2 days after they announce it, he's back in, Flyers mug, Flyers jersey on. It's hockey. I can't wait.
Oh, I gotta tell you.
A word comes to mind here. I think it's fraud.
Oh, I gotta tell you, folks, I was waiting for this. And in fact, I gotta tell you, I adorned the set and my wardrobe this evening on purpose, just to get a rise, all right? I did it on purpose. Seriously. Look, make no mistake, yes, I'm very, very upset. And in fact, just the other day on Fan Junkies Radio, I made the comment to my co-host, Jonathan. I said, all right, whoop-de-doo, the season's back. Ho-hum, who cares? All right, and that's basically the way I really do feel. I'm going to be perfectly honest. I do not want the Flyers to win. And I'm here to tell you right now, I don't want the Flyers to win a Stanley Cup. I want them to do it in a full regular season. But we have to cover it. All right, that's our responsibility. That's our job. If the sport comes back, then we have to cover it. And so therefore, I am here to tell you that 5 Minutes at the Frat House will be covering the NHL as the season kicks up on January 19th. And these are my symbols of indicating, yes, we will cover it. I don't think Sidekick's going to be watching. He's going to be leaning on me to do it. But that's okay. We'll do it anyhow.
I'll be kicking and screaming the whole way.
Only right here. Only right here. And listen, evidence right there. This is live, folks. We don't plan this. All right, let's go over and take a look at something that won't perhaps maybe cause as much turmoil, and that's the NFL. Because we're in round 2 of the playoffs. But before we get into the games for this week, listen, we talked a bit last week, Sidekick, about the abnormally high fallout from all of the things that occurred on NFL's Black Monday. Yet one of the affected head coaches, Andy Reid, of all people, formerly of the Eagles, well, he only needed himself 4 days to land himself another position. And listen, Andy was kind enough to join me earlier right here on the set this evening to talk about his new position as the head coach now of the Kansas City Chiefs. And what I want to do...
We're not in Kansas anymore.
Well, he is. We aren't, but he is. But he was here, and we're going to bring you that video right now. Alrighty, so we're quite pleased to have back with us again, as we've had so many times before, our own Andy Reid. Except this time, as you can all see, wearing different colors, as it was just announced on Monday that, in fact, Coach Andy Reid had now taken over as the head coach of the Kansas City Chiefs. And we appreciate you being here again with us, Andy. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Michael.
Now, listen, we talked a lot here at the Frat House, particularly last week, about the fallout and the enormous fallout there was from Black Monday last week. In fact, 7 head coaches, obviously including yourself, were relieved of their duties. However, you, within 4 days, were able to turn it around and get yourself a new position. In fact, you're the only one of all of those 7 that have been able to do it, and do it as quickly as you did. And I got to tell you, that's pretty impressive. And I got to ask, how did that happen?
Well, Mike, I'm humble. It's you got to be humble in these kind of things. It was a good run in Philly, and it didn't work out the way we wanted. That's on me as coach. So now we're looking at Kansas City now, and I've got some familiarity with Kansas City. I used to recruit for the University of Missouri from Columbia in Kansas City, so it's a good fit.
Well, now listen, it's obvious that they've welcomed you with open arms, because you've been on quite the welcome wagon here. Over in Kansas City, front page headlines were screaming "Hail to the Chief!" T-shirts were showing up in stores. Read to lead. There was a lot of speculation prior to the KC announcement that perhaps maybe you might have ended up in Arizona. You could have gone to San Diego. But you never actually even met with either one of them. In fact, you canceled both those interviews. Now, I got a twofold question for you here. As you went through that process, first of all, why did you only meet with KC? How come not the other 2? Wouldn't you just want to go and listen to what everybody else had to say? And then the second question I have, I guess, for you, it really regards the Philadelphia fan base, who many of them felt kind of jilted about the fact that, well, you never really addressed them before you left.
Well, Mike, have you ever been to Kansas City? Have you ever tried some of their ribs?
No, I can't say I have.
Those ribs are to die for out there, Michael. And, at 9 hours of eating ribs, and it was a done deal at that point.
Yeah.
I didn't need to go to Arizona or out to San Diego, or, just stay with the ribs in Kansas City.
Mm-hmm. How about the fact that the Philadelphia fan base felt a little bit kind of left behind?
Well, Mike, things happen so quickly.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
as you alluded to in your first question, 4 days, and hey, I'm a head coach of the Kansas City Chiefs now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right.
And so I really haven't had a chance to really address stuff with the fan base in Philadelphia.
Mm-hmm.
It was off to fired Monday, and then off to interviews, and
and landed the job within 4 days. Absolutely amazing. Now, interestingly, Chiefs general manager Scott Pioli, he was part of the 9-hour interview that you just alluded to, and I'm assuming perhaps maybe he even picked up the check for all those ribs. And he was obviously part of the process in ultimately hiring. However, the very next day after it was announced that you were probably coming to KC, Scott Pioli is fired. Now, many had thought that the timing was kind of a bit odd. Can you address some of that?
Well, that's a fragile position, man. You know?
Yeah.
And, I'm not really going to get into all that. This isn't the time to get into that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I understand that. Listen, Andy, you had 14 years in Philadelphia to win the big one. And obviously, your goal in KC, I mean, it'd be the goal of any new head coach. Your goal in KC would be to do exactly that, win them the big one. Why do you think you're going to be able to do it there, but after 14 years in Philadelphia, you weren't able to get it done there?
Well, Mike, it's, out Arrowhead, it's the kingdom. It's red. I love red. I had red hair, Mike.
Yeah, right.
So, I think we can turn this around and, we can get the big one and then we can go have some ribs afterwards.
Absolutely. Well, listen, from all of us here at the Frat House, we appreciate all of the appearances you've made on our program here over the past, almost year and a half. And we wish you the best of luck there in Kansas City. All right?
Thanks, Mike. And when I win the big one, I'll come back on the show.
You got it. You got it. We look forward to it. Thanks so much. Hey, listen, and many, many thanks to our own Andy Reid. And we've truly appreciated all of the numerous appearances that he's made with us over the past almost nearly year and a half. And we're wishing him the best there in KC.
And maybe,
Let's go have a ham sandwich.
And maybe we'll see him back when he wins the big one.
Listen,
there, huh?
we might go out to KC and have a ham sandwich
There you
with
go.
him. Who knows? Yeah,
Or some ribs.
Just for old time's sake. Huh?
I want my baby back,
There.
baby back ribs.
Okay, we've got round 2 of the NFL playoffs coming this Saturday. Listen, there were 4 teams that we're going to be talking about today that, well, hey, we didn't talk about last week because they didn't play. They had the benefit of the bye. So let's take a look at the 4 games that everybody's going to be talking about for the next couple of days. And probably into early next week. And we're going to start it off with the first game on Saturday, and that's the Baltimore Ravens, who are now they're 11-7 after winning last week. And they're going to be traveling to the Denver Broncos, who are 13-3, and that's the 4:30 game on Saturday.
Yep.
The Ravens last week played last weekend against the what I call the resurgent Indianapolis Colts. And make no mistake, behind that jacked defense that the Ravens put out there, led by Ray Lewis, and his final game of his career in Baltimore, well, they beat Andrew Luck and the Colts 24-9. Flacco, well, he was Flacco, all right? 12 of 23, 282 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Good, okay, he was good. Really, when it comes right down to it, Anquan Bolden, my gosh, he was the fantasy receiver of the week, collecting up 145 yards in the air and a touchdown. But really, in my opinion, it was the Ravens defense that was the game. They hit Andrew Luck 10 times, sacked him 3 times. It seems to me that if there's a key to this coming week's game, it's got to be that defense again going into Denver if they hope to advance. Now, over on the other side of the story, it's been the surprise of the entire NFL season, and that's Peyton Manning and his resurgence, as we mentioned that word. And perhaps maybe he'll benefit from that week off, having the bye, as he's in his comeback year, ranked number 2 quarterback in the entire league during the course of the season. Now, that's why I mentioned the Ravens defense. Manning, make no mistake, he can be sacked, he can be knocked around. And we've seen him put on the ground now 21 times this season. If the Ravens defense can make him jittery and nervous, and he can be hearing footsteps, then I think the Ravens might have a chance of pulling an upset. All right? Now, I said upset because, look, the Broncos are a 9-point favorite in this game. Is this Ray Lewis's final game of his career? What do you think?
I kind of think so. Mm-hmm. Just a little stats throw at you here. Denver, including Denver, sorry. 9 teams since 1970 have entered the playoffs with an active win streak of at least 10 games. 8 of those, of the 8 previous teams, 4 have made the Super Bowl and 3 have won the Super Bowl.
Whoa.
The 73 Dolphins, the 03 Patriots, and the 76 Raiders.
Wow.
I'm going with the Broncos.
Yeah, I'm going with the Broncos as well. They're going to cover the spread?
Yeah, I think
9
so.
points? All right.
They're in Mile High. Flacco.
Yeah, it seems a little high against that defense. I'm telling you, if that defense comes out as jacked as they were last week, of course, they won't be in Baltimore. But 9 points might be a little bit high. But, hey, take the Broncos. That's where I'm going. All right, let's go over and take a look at Game 2 on Saturday, and that's the Green Bay Packers, who are now technically 12-5. And they are going into San Francisco 49ers, who are 11-4-1, and that's the 8 o'clock game on Saturday. The Minnesota Vikings, they weren't even competition, really, when it comes right down to it, against the Green Bay Packers last Saturday. As Aaron Rodgers and company, well, they ended the Vikings' Cinderella dream 24-10. Rodgers, he was 23 of 33, 274 yards, 1 touchdown, no interceptions, 104.9 QB rating. I've mentioned this numerous times in previous weeks. There's just too many weapons on that Packers team when you take a look at it for Rodgers. Too many. Jennings, Harris, Jones, Finley, Nelson. All right. They even had a ground game going in last week's game against the Vikings. They had 76 yards on the ground. The 49ers had a week off last week, and they're back in action after going 3-2 in their last 5 of the regular season. And in a couple of those, backup quarterback, I guess now starter, Colin Kaepernick. Sorry, I just don't think he was very good. And still, to this moment, I'm sitting here shaking my head. I just don't know what the thinking is behind benching Alex Smith. Nonetheless, with all of that, the 49ers are a 3-point favorite over a team that many still are saying they think might be possibly the best in the NFC. What do you think on this one?
Well, it's interesting. 3 of the 4 divisional games are rematches of regular season games. Denver's played Baltimore already, Houston's played New England already, and Green Bay's played San Francisco already. Mm-hmm. Now, non-divisional opponents have played 155 playoff matches during regular season rematches of regular season games. And the winner of the regular season game has an advantage of 87-68 in the playoff games. So
Okay.
I'm going to buck that trend, and I'm going to say Green Bay wins this one.
Okay.
Against the 49ers.
Yeah. And I'm taking Green Bay on this as well. I'm going to go to my basics, and the basics are quarterback. I don't get it. I don't understand it, and I think they're going to pay for it in the end. That's you got Rodgers coming in, who's got experience in the playoffs. It's a no-brainer in my opinion.
And he's got it. He's got the weapons back. So.
Yep. All right, let's go take a look at the first game on Sunday, and that's the Seattle Seahawks, who are now technically 12-5 after winning last week, and they were going to be going to the Atlanta Falcons, who are 13-3. That's the 1 o'clock game on Sunday. Seattle beat them. We're going to talk a little bit about this game, but we're going to get into a couple of things real quick on this one. Seattle beat the Washington Redskins last Sunday. In the most pre-game and post-game talked about a game of the entire weekend, 24-14. I made the comment earlier on Fan Junkies Radio. I guess it might have been yesterday. Sidekick. 3 rookie QBs that have been talked about a lot this year in the league. Andrew Luck, RG3, and Russell Wilson. Which one's still in the playoffs? Russell Wilson. Wilson last week was 15 of 26, 187 yards and one touchdown. Big story, though, for Seattle had to be running back Marshawn Lynch, who went 132 yards on the ground with a touchdown. But I got to ask real quick, I'm going to just split it right here in the middle. What about that decision to keep RG3 in the game? Sidekick, he's already undergone surgery now for a torn LCL. It's looking like 6 to 8 months of rehab. Yeah, hopefully he's going to be back in time for the beginning of next season. But really, was that wise?
Well, he had. I'm going to mess it up because I suck with medical terms. I'll be honest.
Yeah.
But he had. One was the one ligament, but the previous injury from 2009, the doctor reconstructed that ligament again. reading some articles today. They were talking 9 to 12 months or longer for him to be out.
Boy.
Now, his doctor issued a statement and said that RG3 will be ready for next season.
Okay, but what about the decision to leave him in that game?
Well,
When you've got Kirk Cousins on the bench, who had shown before that he was capable, was that really wise? It was so obvious he was hobbled.
and I agree with you. Here, my issue with it is, would I have pulled him out? I probably would have pulled him out and put Cousins in.
Yeah.
And that. But knowing how competitive some of these players are,
Sure.
I'm sure RG3 was on the sideline telling Shanahan, leave me in, leave me
Well,
in.
of
I
course.
want, and I think, if anything, looking at it in hindsight, I think maybe Shanahan, should have been, as the term I've heard today, an adult about it.
Well, that's where the coaching, I think, has to come in. Right.
And said, look, we don't want to hurt you anymore.
Right.
Let's
The
put
future of the
Cousins
team
in.
concept. I mean, that's really what you got to be looking at, the future of the team.
This morning they were talking about he possibly would not play at all next year. He'd be off a year and then
That's
come
going to
back.
that's going to set the entire program.
And I kind of likened it to the other DC team, the Nationals.
Yeah.
When Strasburg came in.
Yeah.
Strasburg came in half a season. By the end of the season, was blown out, missed the whole next
Yeah.
the
And a
whole next
lot of
season
talk there about
with
the
Tommy
fact,
John.
Yeah, a lot of talk there about
So,
the fact that they had just brought him up way too soon. So, all right, well, it's going back and forth, and a lot of people have talked about it. So, many opinions on it. All right, let's take a look at the Seattle Seahawks, let's take a look at the Atlanta Falcons, rather, who the Seahawks are going to be playing. They're obviously, the Falcons seem to be everybody's favorite team, ranked number 5 QB in the league with Matty Ice there. All right. Now we've implied all season long, Sidekick, that this Falcons team seems to be a bit overrated. After a week off with the bye, I'm wondering whether some others are thinking perhaps maybe they're overrated as well. Since, in fact, Seattle is coming in as only a 2.5-point underdog. Atlanta's favored by only 2.5 points at home. What do you think on this one? I mean, it's only a 2.5-point favorite for Atlanta.
Well, this is going to be my bomb pick of the week because I got a feeling that Falcons are going to get blown up. Interesting stat, because I collected a couple interesting stats for this week's show. Ever since Mike Smith has become the Falcons head coach, the Falcons have made the playoffs 3 times. They've lost the first game all 3 times. The Cardinals in 2008, the Packers in 2010, and the Giants last year. By the way, those 3 teams have gone on to play in the Super Bowl.
Wow. Ooh.
So, and, I saw a post by Uncle Mark this week about Russell Wilson. I've been saying now, this is second or third week, I think Russell Wilson is Rookie of the Year. Serious contender.
Yeah. I'm not sure if I go there. I'll be honest with you. And I don't think that they're looking at postseason numbers in Rookie of the Year. Would that be accurate? I don't think they do. So I think you only have to look at season numbers. But all right. I'm going with Seattle on this game as well. I've been on the Seattle bandwagon for some time.
They've got the hot hand right now, and the Falcons have been cooling.
Yep.
So
All right.
they're ripe for an upset.
Let's go
if
take a
it's
look
gonna
at
happen.
the finale of the round 2 weekend, and that's the Houston Texans, who are technically now 13-4, who are going into New England to play the Patriots, who were 12-4 during the season. That's the 4:30 game on Sunday. We talked a lot about Houston over the past 5 weeks, Sidekick. And look there, yes, hey, how about it? They did advance by beating the Cincinnati Bengals last week overwhelmingly, 19-13. That
was the most boring game of the
You
weekend.
are not kidding. Let's break this down even further. Hey, how about
Do we
13?
have to?
How about well, no,
Can we
I'm going
just skip the-
to make it real simple. 13 of those 19 points were on the foot of Shane Graham, who had, count them, four field goals. Okay, this was not a compelling victory by the Texans, even with Arian Foster having himself a pretty good day with 140 yards and a touchdown. This team, they're going into New England, and they're playing the number 2 seed with Brady and company over there. We've not been impressed with them. They're not looking like a hot team. Pats are a 9.5-point favorite in this game. Are we napping at halftime?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we'll be posting more bikini pics. Maybe of Giselle.
I was going to say Giselle's going to be in there. I'll let you do that. That's your department.
So, but now, Bill Belichick is tied third with Joe Gibbs for most postseason wins with 17 wins. Mm-hmm. If he makes it to the Super Bowl, he will tie Don Shula. If he wins the Super Bowl, he will tie Tom Landry for most postseason wins by an NFL coach.
Wow.
How about that?
He's done it. He's been kind of quiet about it. I mean, not that Belichick himself is quiet, but that's kind of happened kind of quietly. All right. New England, right there. Take it. All right. There's our picks for the week. All right. Let's run around here real quick, as we usually do. Don't forget Fan Junkies. Good time of year to be jumping over there. It's playoff time. Jump in there. And like I've said many, many times, you're going to meet people from all over the country, all different sports and what have you. Fan Junkies Radio is going strong and getting stronger. My goodness. We have had some terrific guests on. We had a guest on Monday. We had a guest on today. And we've got guests on, I think, just about all through next week. And we just keep lining more and more up. And it is not unusual to have tens of thousands of listens per show. So get over there on Blog Talk Radio and check that out. This show right now, 5 Minutes of the Frat House, is now being rebroadcast in two places. Herb FM Sports, www.herbfm.com. All right. You got to check their schedule to see when we come up, but it's being broadcast there. And I am doing the rebroadcast for a full hour with your input. If you want to listen to it live, you can call in to me. But I rebroadcast it over on Fan Junkies Radio. So we're being broadcast on Saturdays on Fan Junkies Radio at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. And of course, last but not least, Frat House Sports. Always looking for new writers. I could use a couple of new ones just for the beginning of the new year, just to help me out, because things just getting busier and busier and busier all the time. All right. All right, there you have it. That was one packed program, huh?
I think we paid all the bills.
Whoa, I think we got it all. There's a couple of things we didn't cover, but we'll get to those next week. Next week, yes, right. Next week, round 3. We'll be talking round 3 of the NFL playoffs, so you're going to want to be right here with us for that one. And you got one more thing you got to do for us consistently all through this week, and that is you got to keep us real, you got to keep us live, and you got to keep us going, and we're going to see you next week. See you then.
What do you tell them?
First of all, I love the Chiefs Kingdom, man. I love that term, huh? Sea of Red, the Chiefs Kingdom. God, man. That's exciting. They broke out the tie. If you get a close-up on that tie, it's a Chiefs tie. Huh? I'm liking that. I'm liking that. So I used to have red hair. I'm kind of into the red. I'm into red. But I appreciate them, the fans of the Kansas City Chiefs. That was one of the drawing factors for me coming here, was this stadium, Arrowhead Stadium. When it's packed and rocking, there's nothing like it, man, in this league. And so it's my job to make sure that I get the right people in here to do the right job, and that's to win football games for them, and that's I'm going to do my best to do that.
Let's do this.
All right, Mitch. Fire up, baby.
Andy Reid, the head coach of the Kansas City Chiefs, and yes, it is time to get excited. When we come back, Kendall Gammon, the long snapper. We'll check in on what this day means as we move forward. We'll be back after this on KCChiefs.com.